What's up, everybody? It's Coach Dave, and I lift.
I'm Coach Cameron, and I lift.
Welcome to the She Lifts, He Lifts podcast. And tonight, we are going to sweat the little things.
Oh, sweat the little.
Actually, what we're going to talk about is not sweating the little things.
Okay.
Because, and again, I always like to give context before we get into the thing. A lot of times lately, I feel like I've gotten a lot of people who've come to me and say, what should I do? Should I make this little change or that little change? And we're going to talk about a few of them. One of the ones that we're definitely going to talk about tonight is going to be sweet potatoes versus regular potatoes.
Okay.
And I like to say, well, what are you eating now? And I feel like a lot of times the answer I get is French fries, right?
It's a potato.
Well, I mean, it's a potato, it's a white potato, and again, I'm going to get into that in a second. But the difference between a sweet potato and a regular potato, splits is another one. There's all these little things that people we hear about, and a lot of times the information is good and it's credible, but I think people put too much into it when we talk about the 80-20 rule.
Mhm.
The 80-20 rule is 80% of your results come from 20% of your habits.
Yes.
Okay? So you know this, you've been in this long enough. People look for the magic bullet too much. They look for that one little thing.
Well, I will say this, and I don't mean anything negative about it. New people look for the magic bullet.
Correct.
They're looking for the quick fix. They forget that it took 10, 15, and 20 years to get themselves unhealthy. And they're looking for the I need to see it now moment. So what's better to do, this or
Right.
that? Where the seasoned person and the seasoned person in their workout, again, we see it at the gym all the time. Someone works out this way and someone works out that way. Is one better than the other? No, it depends on what your result wants. You want your result to be.
On your result, it depends on your time, and the splits we're going to get into
Right.
in here just a little bit too.
So I find that people are looking for the quicker fixes when they're new.
Yeah, I do, and that is definitely true. And it actually, the funny part is it's the more seasoned people that generally can benefit from those little changes, because usually that they have to change something little to get out of their
And
plateau.
I'll agree with that. And as we get into several of these, we can give that like, hey, this won't work as much for a new person, but for a seasoned person, this is why it's going to help dial in. So
let's start with it. Let's start with what I said about potatoes. When we talk about sweet potatoes versus quote unquote regular potatoes, being white potatoes, red potatoes, yellow potatoes, all the ones. So the big thing is when you look at a sweet potato, medium-sized sweet potato has roughly 100 calories, 23 grams of carbohydrates, 2 grams of protein, no fat or cholesterol. It's rich in antioxidants, beta-carotene, and vitamin C. Sweet potatoes are also loaded with potassium and vitamin B. So definitely healthy. However, white potatoes, by comparison, has 110 calories. So yes, 10 calories more, but in the grand scheme of things, is that a whole lot?
Right.
26 grams of carbohydrates. No, again, 3 grams of protein. Again, no fat, no cholesterol. Here's where really they still have vitamin C, vitamin B, niacin, folate, potassium, manganese, magnesium, and phosphorus. So again, it's not an unhealthy. The part that I think that it gets a bad rap is because white potatoes are the things that we make: baked potatoes, scallop potatoes, French fries, potato chips,
right,
all of that stuff.
All the deep fried, stuff.
Mashed potatoes.
Also, it goes down to now talking to a seasoned person. It goes down to, are you measuring food? Are you running macros? Just like we've said before in many different times, a plate of Snickers, 1,000 calories, and a plate of healthy food, 1,000 calories, they're going to work differently.
Absolutely.
So, I agree with you. Sweet potato was always put up on the high ground. Again, I think they did it in the food industry to kind of get, I don't want to say sales of it going up, but again, us controversial. Like, oh, this is good, that's bad, this one's better, that's not.
Right, and that's one thing that Carol talks about a lot. And she we use the words, this is good and bad. Really what we mean is, this is going to get me closer to my goal, this wasn't as bad.
Right.
Food is not good or bad inherently.
No.
Food doesn't have any characteristics. It's just a thing.
Right.
It doesn't have, Carol says it doesn't have a soul. I don't know, I've had some pizzas that have changed my soul, but
I'm looking for one.
I'll tell you. You can come down my neck of the woods, down to Pizza John's. I'll show you a pizza. But again, that's another one. Another one that I'm going to talk about in this same vein is rice. Rice has, let's talk about rice. White rice versus brown rice. Now, a lot of times is white rice more processed than brown rice. I'm asking
Usually,
you because you are the organics more expert.
so I would say yes, normally.
Okay.
But I am going to say in today's world, we're doing a lot of processing to really good things, even the brown
Right.
rices. And you have to be careful. So you have to look, no matter what, you're always looking at that ingredients label to see what's been added to it. If rice is coming from China, it might be flakes of plastic.
At
You,
one point,
you
right.
know, it's
Right.
you have to get kind of concerned, and with them trying to turn bugs into beef, um, you I mean, it's true.
I
But you
know.
have to start
It's just
thinking
when you say
about,
it like
you
that.
know, you know, trying to convince us that bugs are a good protein source and making burgers out of them. It's just we have to start looking at things eyes wide open because they're trying to sell you different things.
So let's talk about it. And again, I
Okay.
know your feeling, but this is per the FDA.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. The FDA says a 1 cup of cooked brown rice contains 218 calories, 4.5 grams of protein, 45 grams of carbohydrates. Again, no fat, no cholesterol. Same amount of cooked white rice, 242 calories, 4.4 grams of protein, 53 grams of carbohydrates. Again, no fat, no cholesterol. So, really, what are we talking about? We're talking about a 30-calorie difference,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more carbohydrates.
Right.
At the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
for the average person, either beginning or in the middle of their fitness journey, is 30 calories a lot over the course of a day?
No. And this is again where we go from the beginner to the seasoned. As a seasoned person,
Mm-hmm.
someone that is currently coming off of a bulk, I'm measuring my food. So
Right.
I'm going to get more brown rice than I am white rice.
Right.
So I'm going to pick the brown rice because I get a little more, and that's my mood. Same with the sweet potato. I get a little more sweet potato than I get white potatoes. So I'm going to go after the sweet potato because I get a little more. Um, Again, I'm measuring my food. But for the person just starting off, we're looking to get you down to eating regularly, eating controlled. So again, that's going to be down to just basically portion. You don't have to cut out potatoes. You don't have to cut out rice. It's portions. You can't eat rice 3 of your meals through the day because that's going to be a lot of carbs. So, just kind of thinking about it. No, I am with you. Sweet potatoes are fine, potatoes are fine. One better than the other, no. But if you're down to you wanting some precise results, you're going to have to
Right.
measure.
And I think, again, using him as an example, Matt, who's been on the show
Mm-hmm.
before, if he was getting contest ready where he is literally watching every single calorie
Eating
that goes,
chicken, rice, and
he
broccoli.
well, he eats that on a normal day, and he loves when I make fun of him about it. But when he's getting down into competition prep mode, yeah, those 30 calories per meal where he's eating 4 or 5 times a
Right.
day over the course of the week, that's the kind of
Yeah.
stuff that adds up.
But
But
I
again, if
think,
you're eating French fries, and your vegetable content is the pickles and
mhm,
lettuce on your hamburger,
yeah. So I think the point of this is, in the beginning, is picking a potato over a sweet potato is it going to give you that curve? No, it's not. Picking white rice over brown rice, it's not going to give you this big curve like you're going to just
mm-mm.
lose lots of weight because you picked brown rice over white rice. Again, it's coming down to portions.
It's
And
coming
this
down
is
to
where
portion.
that will go back to maintaining what we eat.
And here's the thing: and whether it's sweet potatoes and sweet potatoes and regular potatoes, rice, white or brown rice, all of it contains different micronutrients.
It does.
So again, if you're not mixing it up, if
Hmm.
you are eating the same thing every day, no offense, Matt, if you are eating the same thing every day, you are, I feel that you are depriving, you're missing something
Hmm.
somewhere along the line. Brown rice, rich in nutrients such as magnesium, phosphorus, manganese, vitamins such as niacin and thiamine. White rice is fortified with nutrients such as folate, niacin, thiamine, selenium, and manganese.
Now, one thing I will say is when it says fortified, you do need to be concerned because they're adding that in there. So it could be a synthetic brand. And that's where I would take my take towards not per se organic. I go after jasmine rice. I look for Goya products
Mm-hmm.
primarily because they are more natural.
Here's another thing: rice is gluten free in both forms.
Yes.
So you're not talking about, again, for those of you with gluten sensitivity or feelings towards gluten one way or the other.
Right.
You're also the high fiber in both. Controlling like they do mention controlling your portion size, but it is something that should be part of. And again, there's a reason. Again, I make fun of the bodybuilders all the time, but there's a reason they eat it to begin with.
Yeah,
Like,
there is.
so, like,
but again, kind of deciphering between that beginner phase and that dialed in
right.
phase, looking for something specific. I do tend to go towards the sweet potato more because it is a little less on the glycemic load index. I don't feel as bloated. I do feel a little more fluffy and bloated when I eat white products.
I do. Again, when I'm cooking, when I'm making my stuff on my on Coach Dave's Country Kitchen, it depends on what I'm making. Sometimes, like I have to have that side of sweet potato.
Right.
Again, because I don't have the world's biggest sweet tooth, so sometimes then I put a little butter on it with a little cinnamon, a little stevia, and it gives me like a sweet kind of side dish. Other times, like one of the things that I'm actually going to work on the video later today, I'm making a breakfast taco. Shameless plug. Shameless. A breakfast taco, and instead of having lettuce or beans on it, you put potatoes on it.
You have to put that out on Taco Tuesday. Just saying.
I will. It'll be ready for Taco Tuesday this week.
So again, something that I would just kind of side note and say is, sometimes people come to us and they'll say, hey, what should I eat? And then you say, well, you should have salmon. I don't like salmon. You should eat brown rice. Well, I don't like brown rice. So, if it's one of those things where it's like, I'll only eat white rice. Well, okay, eat white rice.
Right.
But
absolutely.
You're going that, if you're concerned about it, then you need to be measuring it. That's all I'm going to say. If you're concerned, then you probably need to be measuring just to make sure, because is a potato this size or is a potato that size?
Or if you've ever been to the fancy steakhouse where they give you the potato.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
I would choke.
Right? It's like a potato for two.
A quarter. Everyone gets a little piece.
So let's another thing that I think people get too caught up in the minutia of supplements. Okay, and I'm not talking about your vitamin supplements. Okay, I'm talking about your quote unquote workout, bodybuilding, fitness supplements, your pre-workouts, your hydroxycut, CLA, protein powders. Protein powders, I really hate putting that in the supplement list. To me, that is a food. It is something that could or could not be in your nutrition plan based on your tastes and some people, I don't like the way it tastes. It's chalky. It's this. It's that. It's too thick. It's too thin. Whatever. Okay, cool. It doesn't work for you. It works for me because I'm busy all the time, and sometimes it's easier to toss down a scoop of protein than to sit and eat a snack.
Yeah. So you'd agree,
right?
We'd always push for you to eat food first,
right? Absolutely.
Okay. Protein is and that's why it's called a supplement. It's in addition to. It's not. I don't want you to make it a staple. If you don't have to.
Right.
If you're someone that comes in and says, I can't eat breakfast or I won't eat breakfast, but I drink a shake. Well, if it's a way to get food in you and a protein and uptake, then I'm going to ask you to do it and do it regularly. You'll just try to find the cleanest one possible.
Usually for me when I'm coaching, I usually try to recommend it as a snack substitute. That piece of fruit or something
but
small.
So many people say they don't eat breakfast or they don't do this or they don't do that. And,
or I'm
on the go.
Breakfast is one of those I get up on my soapbox things about. It really is. Almost that I could do a whole separate show on this, but breakfast really is. And then again, your grandmother used to tell you. But that goes back to my point. We're going to talk about protein powder, but we're skipping breakfast.
Right. Yeah. Is it going to make a result that I need?
The result that you need when really the reality is finding yourself at least a time. And even if, I'm not hungry first thing when I wake up. No one says you have to wake up and go right to the kitchen and make your breakfast. I do that. I don't necessarily say there are people that meal prep their breakfast, take it to work, and they get their day started. When I used to open the gym up here, I used to do that. Yeah. I would bring in, I used to come in with one of my muffins and a little bit of oatmeal, and I would get everything started, and then I would eat. So again, if you're looking for what protein powder is the best, or whey versus a casein or an isolate, but you're skipping meals, let's find a way to fit the meals first before we start worrying about that. The other things I'm talking about, I'm going to use fat burners, CLA, creatine, pre-workout. I can put in all of those. People think that those are beginners, I think, a lot. They have feelings towards them that are either like, oh, I'm never taking that.
Okay.
Or I'm going to take this,
and it's going to
and
do all
it's
the
going to
magic.
magically, then I can go into the gym and half-ass it.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, let's start with pre-workout. Pre-workout is designed so you don't half-ass it in the gym.
And some people need it and some people don't.
Some
Like
people,
if you've ever met me, I don't need it.
you don't need it. I don't necessarily need it. I find it gives me a little bit of it does help me focus
Mm-hmm.
mentally, especially when I'm working out in the gym that I spend spend the bulk of my
Right.
day in. Um, I also find too, especially on certain days like leg day, it gives me that little kick in the
Yeah.
ass that I need to get a little harder workout. But it doesn't do the work for me.
It doesn't do the work for you.
So if I go and I give a minimal effort, I don't care how great your pre-workout is, how
Yeah.
well the caffeine is dosed, and slow release caffeine versus a caffeine inhibitor caffeine inhibitors versus nitric oxide versus beta alanine versus all this stuff that's in your pre-workout. None of that's going to make a difference if you're not putting an effort. Now, will it help you on a day make that effort a little better? Absolutely. Fat burners are the same way.
So I kind of lied. I do take a pre-workout. It's called
Nice.
coffee. So
I mean,
sorry, I had to make sure I put that in there.
you know what? I'm gonna throw that into another one of these little
All
things.
right.
People tell me all the time how I'm cutting out coffee. Well, why are you cutting out coffee?
And it can be good for some because there's adrenal fatigue. There's,
Mm.
Again, looking at it from a whole perspective, not just like, like the one page of a 300-page book. Looking at the whole perspective. And I think that's where we're going with all of this. Like, you can't make that one small little change and it change the whole picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's pages and pages and pages of a book. There's going to be more to it. So
Coffee is another one I think people cut out, and rather than cut out the coffee, and then they'll say I have no energy in the morning because I cut out my coffee.
right.
Well, you didn't have to cut out your coffee. You just had to
Cut out the
play
crap in it.
right.
Oh, I said it.
You said it, and that's the big thing with coffee. It goes just like the white potatoes. It's not the potatoes themselves; it's the sour cream, bacon, and cheese that we
Well,
throw on
and
top of them.
most of the time, again, it's not the potato; it's the size of the potato.
Right.
You go over someone's house and they're heaping the mashed potatoes on, and I get it. Thanksgiving is like off limits.
Well,
Like you eat as much as you want on Thanksgiving. I'll give that one to you. But on a regular basis, what does a serving size of food look like? Most of the time, they're enormous.
That goes back to your point, and I love that. I love that about the book is that if you look at one page, you read the right page out of a you watch one scene of Old Yeller.
Old Yeller.
You might think it's the happiest movie,
really
happiest movie you've ever seen, where the kid gets a new dog. Like, oh, this is a great movie. If you watch the whole movie, you kind of get the point. And I feel like when it comes to supplements, that's the thing is we talk about what this does. Yeah, it does do that if you're doing all these things. Fat burners is a big one for me because I use so on full disclosure.
Okay.
I took Hydroxycut.
So did I.
When I first came out, and I'm thinking like, oh, this is. Well, guess what? I was going to the gym. I was not. I don't want to say I was half-assing it because I wasn't. But I didn't know what I know now. Mm-hmm. Now I don't take them. I do take some fat burners sometimes when I'm in prep mode.
Yeah. Everyone has always seen me as like a go, 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 go person.
Right.
I took Hydroxycut. This was back, when it first came out.
Is this back when it still had ephedra in it?
Yeah. It was good. It was good. And I can remember I laid on the couch for 3 days. I didn't want to go to work. Darren's like, you've got to go to work, like dragging me to work. I'm like, but I don't want to, because here is the trick. Everybody wants to take something to see those instant results. And I would mm-hmm. see results from it because I'd be like wired. But it's not longevity. You can't keep taking it forever. So then you come off of it and it's like a drug and you're jonesing for it and things like mm-hmm. that. So a lot of the fat burners, yeah, they work for a very small period of time only because they hype you up energy wise. Mm-hmm. And it's not true. I bet if I did a body stat on you, it's not true body fat.
Oh, I'm absolutely
dehydrating
it's a combination of dehydrating and the fact that it makes me less hungry.
Yeah.
So absolutely. Yeah. No, absolutely. If you because I usually take it from about 3 weeks in prep mode. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I would almost guarantee you it's my water levels going down
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that because I've talked about this before. I go down, I weigh in, and the next way I wake up and I've gained 8 pounds
Mm-hmm.
overnight. So yeah, you're definitely talking about
Yeah.
dehydration
And as a woman over 40, I really advise against it,
mm-hmm.
primarily because it screws your hormones up. And then when you do
You're not
decide that
over
you're,
40, are you?
I am
Oh.
48, I'm rocking 50 soon. So, it's going to mess with your hormones. And then you're going to, go on and off taking it for 2 days, go off, take it for a couple of days and stuff like that. So it's just going to rock your world and it's not going to be good.
How about your split?
My split.
What's the best split, do you think?
Ugh.
And again, this is the answer I'm going to give. How many days a week do you have to work out? Then we can talk about what the best split.
Right.
What's the goal? Then we can
What's
talk
the
about
best cardio machine?
what's the best cardio machine. If you wouldn't give me, if you held a gun to my head and said, give me an answer,
right,
I would say the elliptical, only because the elliptical
whole body movement.
whole body movement.
Yeah.
That's it. And it requires slightly less know-how than a rowing machine does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Agree.
Okay.
Getting in and out of a rowing machine. Oh, people the first time.
Oh God, I didn't realize how hard that was for
Yeah.
some people until I actually started, because I've actually recently started using it as part of my conditioning training for people, where I'll have them do like an 800-meter sprint.
You're like flip,
and then rest and that right. No, down like that. Right. The elliptical, you just sort of get on and move the handles and you usually go.
It's a natural motion.
So that to me, yes, is. But if I don't like the elliptical, it hurts my knees, then it's not the best for you.
Or it's not set up right.
Stop focusing on, and again, this is another thing I think when we focus on little things like what's the best this. Well, if I can't do the best, I'm not going to get it. Well, let me ask you this: if you can't afford the best shoes out there, do you go barefooted?
Right.
If you can't afford a Mercedes, are you walking?
Well, and I hate to say this. This always seems.
Mercedes is the best car by a long shot, by the way.
This is hard, but you're just looking for excuses at that point.
Yes. And that's the thing.
And that's where this brain, getting that connected and realizing, am I just making an excuse for this?
And splits. And even I've seen people who are slightly further along in their journey get all caught up in, well, this split's the best for this, and this split is the best for me. And any split will build muscle, burn fat. Well, if you pick the right exercises, do it consistently. And now, again, once you get down to that super where you're getting lean and now you're trying to you really are going for an aesthetic look, yes, there are things that might work a little better. There are exercises that might work a little better. But think about this: you have that circuit set up here in the gym. If you came in fresh off the street and went through, what is it, 3 sets of 12s that you coach for a beginner, 3 sets of 12, hit that circuit, made some reasonable nutrition changes without focusing, and just ate rice instead of French fries. I ate some vegetables, took a little bit of processed food out, not even everything. Stopped drinking soda, maybe, and did that 3 sets of that. Well, I think that's the one thing. I said there's only a handful of things. Like if you talk to every fitness influencer, no matter how good, how bad, there's a handful of things that we all agree on. 1, we need to strength train. 2, we need to drink more water, and 3, so does the devil.
Well, not to get on a rampage of it, but why drink your calories when you want to eat? You want to eat them.
But again, that goes back to what you said about the protein powder.
Yeah.
But that's the change that we don't want to make. That's the change that we don't want to make. Sure. We want to look for a pill. And again, I'm not going to talk bad about it because I have known it to work for it. But again, people look for things like Ozempic. They look for things like back in the day when we had it was remember Metabolife was the pre. That was the one that was the real.
God, that's an old one. I think maybe that might. I thought it was hydroxycut. I was on one of those crazy ones.
Yeah, but Metabolife. So I actually lost 20 pounds taking Metabolife when I was like 21 years old.
Age matters.
Well,
also.
That was the other thing. I was 21 years old and I was an average person. Well, all of a sudden they started outlawing it because athletes who already had high active heart rates were dropping dead because they were taking this. And I'm like, dude, that gets me through the day without a cup of coffee.
Right.
And I would, at that point, drink the coffee. Coffee has other benefits to it, too.
It does. And again, it's how much. This is my 12th cup today. I'm kidding. But, if you're drinking a lot of coffee, yeah, there's side effects to that. There's negatives.
There's side
But if you're
effects.
drinking 1 cup of coffee in the morning and it doesn't have a lot of junk in it and things like that, then it's fine.
I drink 1 cup of coffee in the morning, or an energy drink, which is not the best thing in the world, but 1 cup of coffee or an energy drink. Sometimes in the summer I do go for the energy drink because it's cooler and a little bit more refreshing.
Okay. I can drink coffee all the time, anytime.
I like coffee. I like coffee.
Dan brings me a coffee from Wawa because it's blueberry flavored.
Blueberry flavored coffee?
So then, yeah. Oh, it's delicious. I never thought I'd like it. It's delicious. He brings me one every morning, and I have a little bit left, and I'm not throwing it away.
But yeah, so let's go back. Make sure. So what are the so let's talk about this. We've talked about all the little stuff. What is the big thing that we need to change? The two most important things that we need to change.
Well, two most important in my book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, in all honesty, it's just get moving. Most of us aren't moving, and just start looking at your diet. Just start like not picking it all apart, because again, I'm not a big like turn it all over today and I'm going to eat perfect. But just start like thinking about it. Like, do you think about it when you're handed a big tray of French fries? Do you even consider not eating them all?
No.
You know, but if you're in where you want to lose weight and
absolutely,
you just had a steak and a potato, do you eat the fries? Do you, I don't think people, things just move in front of them and they just grab.
And I think that's the two biggest things that I think to change is one, move more.
Move more.
Don't before you even start looking at what you're to move more.
Move more.
But secondly, is exactly what you're doing. Fix your mindset. Fix your mindset. Those are the two biggest changes. The third one then being what you're eating. But the two biggest changes is move more and then shift your mindset. Shift your mindset because, like you said, if I'm going to hand me a plate of French fries, will I stop thinking about would 270-pound Dave thought about not eating them all? Absolutely not. And I'll tell you a story. And this is where I was. I remember when I was in the car business, we went up to Qdoba one time.
Qdoba, yeah.
And we know that they have the big burritos.
Right.
So I got a big burrito. Big. They're very big. And
they're double
not only
fisting.
this, so they had a whole bunch of Spanish people working at this Qdoba. We had a Spanish speaking salesman. He went up to pick our food up, started speaking Spanish to dude. He came back with
like extra big.
By Qdoba standards, big burrito. I remember sitting there going, looking at the burrito going, you're not going to win, burrito. That was it. I would have been better off wrapping that up, tossing it in the fridge and having it later on.
Yeah. Instead of eating it all.
And then feeling like crap for the rest of for the next hour and a half.
Well, and that's like, people will hate me on Thanksgiving because I really do go with a small plate and I eat and then I wait. And then I see if I'm hungry, because again, when you start shoveling food in, it'll all fit. And then all of a sudden
until it won't.
And it's just heavy and you feel like crap. And I just don't like feeling like that anymore.
And that's again, you talk about little things you change. That's another big, going back to a little thing that I would change is most people eat that 1 or 2 times a day. And if you spread those calories out, you feel less like crap.
Right.
You're also less inclined to even order that big burrito in the first place if you've eaten your breakfast. Why not make that change before we start talking about, what's the best diet? How about just eating 3 times a day instead of 1? How about drinking more water instead of before we start drinking, apple cider vinegar is going to be going to help clear up my type 2 diabetes or bring my A1C down. Could it help? Yes, if everything else is on point.
But if you're eating French fries, so we're definitely going after these little minutiae things. These little tiny things aren't going to make the difference if
the big things
it's a train wreck on the other side. And you're eating pizza and French fries and all of this, but you're going to wash it down with apple cider vinegar. That's not
Band-Aids on bullet holes.
Yeah. Oh, Band-Aids on bullet holes.
Right. So that's about all that we have for this week.
Okay.
The point we want to make, guys, is when we start making changes in our life, let's start looking into the things that are going to make the greatest impact. Stop looking for the little quick fixes when you're first starting out, and go and get to the point where you are moving more, strength training, watching what you're eating. And again, how much you want to watch what you eat, that depends on your goal. Maybe your goal isn't to be a super shredded 12% body fat with visible muscle.
Sure.
Well, maybe your goal is just to get down
Being
20,
able to
30
tie your
pounds.
shoes.
Right. Walk up the stairs without getting winded. Those don't necessarily require to make huge changes right away.
It's mindset, like
It's
you were saying.
all mindset. It all
Mhm.
comes down to your mindset. And you remember this, the 80-20 rule. And that, I feel like there's been 100 different versions, but at the end of the day, it all says the same things. 80% of your results come from 20% of your work.
Right.
So if you make sure you focus on that 20% before you start focusing on the other 60, then you'll get where you want to go.
Yeah.
So join us next week. Next week, we are going to dive into the topic.
We didn't ask, where's Carol?
Carol will be out one more week. She is still dealing with her family and getting things. You get to come back one more time. So next week we are going to dive in to a comment that was made on the show way back in one of our first episodes. We're coming up on our 50th episode, by the way, guys. So I'm really excited about that. But Coach Laura, a while back, she said made the comment that muscle is expensive, meaning it's expensive in the energy and the things it takes it as. And I want to dive into what that means in terms of what it's going to cost to build it, what it's going to cost to keep it, and and how that's going to positively affect your life going forward as we get older, as you get into, that over 40, like Cameron and I and Carol and pretty much everyone who's ever been on the show, but Matt and Laura is
puppies.
right.
Sorry,
So
we're gonna show them how 50 rocks.
right, exactly. Join us next week. Until then, check out Cameron on Model A Fitness on Facebook and Instagram. And do you have your new website up yet?
Not yet.
Not
It's
yet.
coming out hopefully next week.
Cool. Check me out at Rockstar Fitness on Facebook, dwebster023 on Instagram. Follow Coach Dave's Country Kitchen on YouTube. Follow the show on YouTube and Instagram. And until next week, woo!